recording on this computer. Hi, everyone. So we already have automated updating packages like GitLab UI in the GitLab projects and related projects. And I have done this with my personal account. And Paul asked me if we can do it with a new, I forgot the name of the thing. If it's a
source graph. Yeah.
Source graph integration with a plugin from them, NPM package. And I think it's a good reason to just do that and move the stuff over from my personal project into a GitLab project, and also give a bit of the rundown how it works. So we might be able to improve documentation and stuff as well, right? Because at the moment it's all me and Paul GV who gets assigned to the MR, so maybe we can improve stuff. So I'm just going to share my screen. I hope this just works. And yeah, if I switch like, that's cool. So if I switch, you can see if I switch desktops. So I need to do it all on one.
Oh, it's interesting. Yeah, no, I'd only see this GitLab page if you're doing other things.
Yeah, exactly. But it's good to know because if I switch to another screen and later on we're going to need to look at a secret variable, right? So that's actually good to know. Learn something new every day. So just a quick rundown how this project works. So this project wraps an open source tool called Renovate Bot. And usually how Renovate Bot works is the tool is open sourced, but it's also a service you can use. And so we're actually running the thing regularly in CI as opposed to using the service, because the service would mean that we need to add like a third-party user, the Renovate user, to the project, and then the script would run. Also running the thing externally has the benefit because normally you would add like the Renovate configuration into the project. But if we run the service ourselves, we can basically configure the stuff from the outside, which made it easier for me to set it up and get it working with a fork rather than going through maintainer review and trying to get it merged, right? So it's pretty cool to create a merge request from the outside rather than having to configure stuff within the project, especially, you know, with, I don't know, stable branches and all these kind of shenanigans. So yeah. So Renovate, as I said, is open source, runs on GitLab, and you can update like dependencies, NPM, and so on. And it has a bit of rules and configuration. I will just go into that later. So what does actually, we have wrapped the Renovate thing. It has a simple run Renovate file, right? Which basically runs a script, and the whole thing is scheduled to run from on Mondays to Fridays. So I basically have it set up to run during the work week. I have two schedules here, so that runs basically from APAC time zones until, you know, I think the other one is set in a time zone for the Americas.
Cool.
And how this thing works, it, you know, checks out the projects, looks if there's an update for the configured packages, and then creates an MR. Yeah, and the config is rather simple. So the config is, I have, you know, put the config, normally you put it just in the package JSON or in like one of those config files. But the thing I have done here is I created a base config, you know, which says that we enable NPM. We also have a post update option, you know, which is running yarn dedupe in order to dedupe dependencies. And the config for GitLab is pretty simple, actually. The config for GitLab is we disable it for every package, and then we just enable it for everything that's in the GitLab scope, right? The only thing that we do here is that we set a range strategy, which is like, you know, keep the range as it is and just bump it if necessary. And automatically the merge request will be created, and it adds labels. It adds a note to link to the project and CCs me so that I get a notification. And it also set some labels. Unfortunately, setting a milestone is currently not possible. And unfortunately, it doesn't support assigning multiple assignees, which is an open upstream issue. So at the moment, that's the reason why Paul GV is always assigned, right? Then the sorry?
Because he's multiple people.
Yes. No, but it's like it removed the bottleneck from my side, you know, because I'm a bit more removed from development now, and so that's a bit fair, you know. And because I set up the whole thing on my side, I basically also you know, take care of some other projects, which one is team members, personal ones. So and this is, you know, that's the first thing I would like to do. I just fork the project into GitLab, remove my personal stuff, add the new package there, which is pretty trivial. But, you know, this meeting is also about, or this video recording is also about, you know, understanding how it works, right?
Yeah.
Here you can see it's set up for GitLab SVGs, GitLab UI, and for the design system, right? And those all use the same config, except that we want to have semantic commits for GitLab UI. There are little pitfalls that are just assumed here. So for example, I had the problem that it created semantic commits on GitLab just because some community contributor used semantic commits in GitLab. So this is why I had to specify it here. Yeah, there have been some weirdities that have been resolved by forking the project and then getting stuff upstream, hint, hint. Because they had performance problems and sometimes used the GitLab APIs wrong, right? Yeah. So I'm actually pinged on all the GitLab related issue in the Renovate project now, which is a bit weird. Right. Yeah, so this is the config. It runs. If we're not on master, it does a dry run. And I just want to talk about the CI quickly, and the rest should be rather fast, right? So the CI runs beepboop, and what the thing does is a small thing that I think we also use on the a small trick that we also use in GitLab UI, and it basically builds an image, and the image name is just based on a master commit. So every time you do a commit a master, it would build a new image, but if the image exists, it reuses that image. That just means that like the script is a bit removed. So basically it has like the dependencies installed already in the image, right? So the image is just like a node image with the Renovate stuff installed and with the things in there. And it just removes, you know, downloading from the NPM registry and having that as a failure source. And yeah, I wanted to play around with it as well to get like Docker stuff running. And this is the reason why I did it. I think it's a nice way to do it. It has some downsides. Because it's a bit complexer than just running something on Node, right?
Right. So let me ask you, like, how come we don't change line 8 image to Docker image? Because it looks like we're using a Docker image that has Docker on it to then run a Docker image.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, so basically what it does, it uses a small image that has Docker in it, but then you set the Docker host to the outside host. So it's not like Docker within Docker, but you have Docker, and you tell you have an image that has a Docker executable, and you basically tell the Docker executable, please use the Docker of the GitLab CI service, right?
I see.
Okay. And this is the thing you do here, right? Docker CLI experimental is just an environment variable that we set because this Docker manifest inspect command is experimental, and which is basically the command that checks if the image already exists, right? It's a bit weird. I would love if this would be a GitLab feature. I mean, working on this also is a bit of dog fooding because I work with APIs that I normally don't. So like having, it's really hard for you to know if you have in a project multiple assignees, you know, which is dependent on if you are gold or not. So and actually the parameters change depending on that. So it's a bit weird, right? Or it's sometimes not really documented. So it also helped like improving documentation on things. I think with this package, I actually found bugs because under the hood it uses the public GitLab NPM package. and they used arrays in the wrong way and these kind of things, so it's always interesting to work on these things and be able to contribute upstream.
Got it.
Is the general process kind of clear how this thing works, or do you have any questions, either of you?
It's clear. My gut tells me that there's another way to do the Docker stuff, but it's not important right now because it works. So we can just
exactly. I think we could. I think we could clean it up and go back to a simple node thing, right? I mean, config-wise, the only thing you need to configure, you basically need to create a. Now I know, because I wanted to play around with yarn clean, and that's the reason why I moved it to a Docker image, because I wanted to minimize Docker size and these kind of things. I tried some stuff out with this repo. I don't think it's that important because it just runs.
No, and that makes sense. But it would be really neat to get someone from CI to just take a look at this YAML and to see like, hey, are we doing this right, or is there another way we can set this up? But totally not important right now. But it does make sense.
Exactly.
All of it is we're trying to build this containerized environment using the latest script to actually run the script of what's going on. So yeah.
See, I actually committed my token accidentally. I think I probably did it. I don't remember the reason, but I remember now. I needed to Dockerize it because when I was using my fork, because the project is in TypeScript, I needed to build that stuff, right? And this always took a long time, and because that's the reason why I Dockerized it this way, because I had to build because the project obviously doesn't check in the compiled TypeScript stuff, but Node just runs on the compiled things, and I didn't want to have the additional CI time every time. So this is the historical reason why it is that way, and once I removed the TypeScript stuff, I just left it the way it is, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
So we now have the history now, also good. So first step that I would do, I would just fork it.
Okay. So the goal what we're trying to do now is we want to expand this to different projects, and so we're gonna fork.
I basically also kind of want to transfer ownership to GitLab frontend, right? So I would just go and just move it to GitLab org/frontend.
So okay, I have a question for you. Just what would it take for, if you go to the file list? I'm sorry, I know your stuff already.
Yeah, it's fine. We can have a look on the file list.
What would it take for that run renovate.sh?
Yeah.
What would it take for GitLab.com project to have this in its scripts? And then we have a CI YAML job that's run on its schedule just in the GitLab.com project to like update its own things. I'm not saying we have to do that now, but I can see it being beneficial to whatever project needs to have its dependencies updated, owning that config in that same project. Because then we could like maybe remove dependencies like all in one MR or something. And
I think we don't need to move the scripting around this here, but theoretically we could move the config there. But we would actually make this project easier, because maybe we just put like the list of projects that have it, or we could even basically build our own scanner for it, that recursively goes to the GitLab org group and uses every project that uses it. But maybe I would completely agree with you, like moving the config to GitLab itself might be a good thing, because then you can just switch around stuff. At the moment,
sorry, it sounds like there's a package here that we can reuse, but then having the config own inside the project that is actually.
I think that's a very good idea. The only reason why I didn't do it was because I wanted to reuse the config or updating like GitLab packages across all of GitLab. But I agree with you; it would make sense. I don't know if the script, if we would have the ability to also have like a shared config or something, right? because I wanted
Yeah,
to reuse the config at the moment.
that's an interesting point. We do that with ESLint now, like in a separate project, which I'm not a huge fan of because it makes it really obscure what's going on. But no, that's interesting. So it's not something we need to do now, but only if it seems like, oh yeah, let's do it. That's be really easy. But the future of it, I could see it being really cool.
Yeah, I think there's even a GitLab feature request to do this, right? Like, I have the package team, I think, is working on that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I just forked it, right?
Cool.
Now the question is GitLab. So I'm just using this one here. GitLab, no, not GitLab. Git remote.
Are we all main this project now?
Sorry?
Oh, this isn't in Playground. Is it? Are you still the owner of this project?
I'm still the owner of this project, which is beneficial because that's always, if you fork something and put it in the front end group, that person who did it still has like the manager rights, I believe, which is, I think, sensible because, let me just check.
I'm really happy keeping you as that person. But only if you were like, hey, I really need this offloaded to somebody else. Just curious what was going on, but cool.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm adding the origin, right, to have it. Oh yeah, and I'm not able. Oops. Git remote. I did it the wrong. Add origin, right?
We can only see your browser screen on Mars.
You only can see my browser screen.
Yeah, I thought you were doing like some fancy GitLab hotkey hack.
Can you see it now?
No.
Stop the share if you want and do it again with the whole screen.
Yeah, I do the whole screen. Do you see it now? My terminal?
Yes.
Okay. So just adding, remote GitLab upstream, whatever. So let's just, git checkout minus brand, right? And we just do like remove lightpots stuff, right? Oh yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
I got my own name, right? So okay, cool. And I will just have a check here. Can you see the Ruby mine?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so we have run renovate here, right? Everything is good. I think we can make it a bit easier by just, now I can remove like all dependencies for now. The GitLab.com team project, maybe we keep all dependencies because I actually want to update like stuff on the GitLab on the GitLab project, right? So let's just, sorry?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I think the Git author should probably change to GitLab Bot. I don't know if GitLab Bot has an email, but I would, use the token from the GitLab Bot basically.
Let me look it up real fast.
Yeah. I think, yeah. Cool. Oh, shoot. I'm just seeing that I'm actually not up to date locally. Okay. Git fetch, git stash, git rebase. So I just rebased, stashed the thing. Yeah, because Paul is the assignee at the moment, right? Okay. So we removed my personal projects and the thing we want to update, right? And to be honest, I think the easiest thing is just to share it add it to the shared GitLab config, because I mean, it's just a pattern that won't match on the other projects, right?
Can you say that again?
Okay. So at the moment, we say we have these package rules, right? And to be honest, I think there's no need to have them separate here. So I'm just going to flatten this a bit, so that one can see.
Well, yeah, it's cool though. I think it's nice. It was
okay.
It made it readable of like, hey, what do these mean? These obscure objects. So I think it's nice. But it looks like we'll have one called update source graph.
Yeah, exactly. So I would just copy it. And I would just say update source graph, right?
And let me get you the
the pattern, right? So I think we could also put it down instead of a pattern. Have like really jot it down to the one package, but I think maybe
it should be that one package, I believe. Let's leave it at that, and only if we need to actually do multiple, then we'll consider doing different ones.
So let me just check real quickly the documentation, how they say it. Oh God, open source project blog. Choose our product.
In the footer.
Sorry?
In the footer.
In the footer documentation. Thank you. So shareable configs. You can see we can create shareable presets. So even like the GitLab UI stuff would be things. I think I already, for my private project, use like shareable presets for Vue and so on. And here we have the configuration options. They are a bit flat and ugly to read, and you sometimes have to figure out stuff. That's, by the way, a thing I always did. Was like working on a fork when I was trying to figure out stuff, right? Like working on a fork of GitLab so that we don't have package rules, package patterns, package names, right? So we can use the package names here. Oh God, I'm always.
Thanks for checking that out.
Cool. Package names. And then you sent me the name? Oh,
I sent it to you in Slack.
Hope there's no front-end pairs and nothing confidential on here, right? Do we have confidential stuff? You can see Slack now, right?
I can see Slack.
Yeah, just going to pause the recording. Is there a way to pause the recording? Should be, right?
I don't know if let me, and maybe instead of Slack, I can just send it to you in the group chat.
That's good.
I may have sent you some incriminating stuff in our discussion, so.
Yeah, that's just what I don't want to have on a YouTube video. I don't think we do, but it's sometimes have this kind of things, right?
Yeah, it's a good call.
So update source graph, right? And
I think I'm going to nitpick. I think source graph is one word to them. It's it's not camel case. Yeah, I think it's like that.
I think we can even remove the group name. Because then it will just use the name of the thing.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Update source graph. We can change the name here, right? Like, oops, no, that was wrong. Sorry.
Are you flexing some RubyMine stuff right now?
Oh, what is happening? Why isn't this? It marks the whole thing. Yeah, I'm flexing some renaming.
Nice.
Yeah, some renaming skills. And as I said, because it will just do the pattern matching, we don't have it in GitLab UI and GitLab SVGs, I would just say, be happy and don't care, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Team map, I'm still assigning to Lipod, which is fine because I'm taking care of that anyway. Do we have an idea what email address we will use for this GitLab?
I was going to do and we could do that on the, let's do it here so that we can also show it. But you could do if you want to look in the commit history of GitLab, the project, and search for that author, we will find the email.
Yeah, that's true. Don't we just use it in GitLab UI?
I think you would see it in maybe, and that's a good. Oh yeah, I bet it is there. I was gonna just do a grep on the log.
Or maybe just like what's the name? GitLab -bot, right? So activity, wow, that guy is active. Or girl, we don't know, right?
This is true.
Wow. And the activity is not working, right? Contributed projects. Oh, man. That's
You might be able to do a grep on the commits. Like if you do git log, like
now I know what you mean. Yeah. So let me just go on. How would you do that actually? The authors.
You can grep by the author name. How can you do a git log? Just one user's commit. Oh yeah, you can do git log -- author and do it based on the author name.
I think my computer is a bit slow because of everything. Author a value. And you mean git bot, right? GitLab minus bot. Cool. So this means we have this here, right?
Nice.
And that looks good to me.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool. Then let's do the thing. And oops, that's the wrong. Yeah, that's the one. Git commit -a. Remove IPs projects, right? Add source graph as a bumpable dependency. Also, this is a very good example of a bad commit message and bad commit, by the way, because it does 3 things in one commit, right?
That's true.
Okay, so git push should fail, right? I named the remote GitLab. IP is tough. I hope that's not something. Right. What? Oh, wow, that's pretty interesting.
Do we just run into a bug?
It usually uses the commit message as the merge request title.
No, I'm weirded out by this thing, like having a merge request, and the merge request doesn't target like the.
Yeah, we do this. This happens also on the web IDE, and it's because usually I fork and I want to do my branch to the upstream master, but we want to do is to this forks master, right?
Yeah.
So do we want to? Are you gonna kill the fork relationship? Is that what you're thinking?
I'm going remove fork relationship.
Okay.
Because to be honest, I will migrate my private thing the same way. I will do the reverse thing so that I'm not updating the GitLab stuff anymore, because otherwise they would collide anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking about either using the Docker image or, I mean, we will see, right? But that's not part of this video either. So remove the fork relationship. So if I click the link now, yeah.
Nice.
I don't know. I would say we just say like move ownership of updates to the GitLab org, right?
Plus source graph.
Sorry? Yeah. No, I mean the ownership of the updates, right? Like the thing.
No, right. But I mean that this merge request has multiple scopes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
yeah, it's not the best, right?
No,
this
is good. This is awesome.
Okay, so this is good. I think. Oh wow, I don't even have Prettier set up as part of the project, right? So this is the reason why we see the nice inconsistency here.
I think it's nice.
I think it's okay. So we have the CI running. Should take like 5 to 10ish minutes, because of the. Yes. Yeah, because of the
Docker stuff.
Docker stuff. Yeah. Also a reason, because in a node image, you would need to install Python stuff in the dependencies. That's another reason why I put it into, if we look at the code actually, where did I click? If we look at the code of the Docker file, which we didn't, we probably will see that I'm using build images. So the problem is that some dependencies in this thing need to be built with a C compiler, right? So like Node SARS, for example, is a good example, right? But you actually, once you have compiled the stuff, you don't need the compilers anymore. It would just blow up your image. So I also tried out multi-step Docker builds.
Yeah.
So this actually, does a yarn install and with all the compiling and everything, and then it copies over the node modules from the other folder, right? And so you just need to install git and bash and you're happy. So you have a slim image compared to a big one. And you save time because you don't need to install the compilation every time, right? And this is all documented in my brain after I look at it after a few months, right? And we also should update like the list. Okay. Oh, and the build failed probably because the environment variable is missing or something. Yeah, you can see it running here, right? And it will probably fail because the environment variable. You must configure a GitLab personal access token, right? So I'm going to stop the share to create a token and add it to the project. Because I hope that everybody can create a token.
When you describe creating a token, is this in your?
Yes, I will describe it. So the thing I'm doing is, and I think security-wise, it's, I don't know if I should mention it on a recording.
Oh, okay.
Recording in a touch bar. Cool. So don't need to mess. Okay, so we added the token. Let's rerun. Should have created a new pipeline, for example, right? Yeah, and I think one thing that I mentioned is the yarn run thing anyway. And I actually have yarn run pretty here. Oops. Can you see my, okay. Okay. Yeah, because over engineering, I also updated the README, automated the README update. So it should have removed my project. Yeah. You know how it is with engineers if they have spare time. Or they are watching not so interesting shows with their partner.
This is the scope of activities.
Yeah, I think that's it, right? So
okay.
we probably, if this goes through, I actually would set MVPS, right? Merge when pipeline succeeds. Let's review it real quick. It just removes my items from the list, right? Adds the source graph integration, adds the update source graph, updates like things where we want to update all dependencies just to the team page map, changed the ownership of the bot, and it changed the ownership of the assignees, right?
So one thing we probably want to do is make sure that the other project has there's no we're not going to get two MRs created for these MR updates.
I don't think we will. It's also the question what happens now with the existing ones, right? Because there might be some open. The thing I would have done, thanks for reminding me, I would just, I will copy that pipeline schedule, which is also fun if a fork project run on Mondays. So this is like, I don't know what this pattern actually says.
Whoa.
this is a really cool website that translates cron into a real thing. Yeah, and so this runs it on the 13th minute. I don't like to use minute 0 because it might lead to overloading stuff. We had it in the past. I think GitLab works around it by basically ignoring the minute and just scheduling it. And you can just schedule stuff hourly in GitLab CI. And this is just, UTC working hours of APEC basically on a Sunday, which would be the Monday of the people in APEC, right? So run on Mondays, active, and new schedule would be I deactivated here. So this, and the new schedule would be for Monday to Friday, right? I think my consistency is now off, and that just runs it, UTC Monday to Friday. Yeah. So we'll end like and you can see the next run will be in 37 minutes. Saving the pipeline here. And now the interesting thing is, because there's always the MRs created by me, this is basically how I keep track of the stuff. You can see that we have the update here of GitLab UI, right? Which has been created an hour ago. So I'm just going to do the thing here and just going to close the merge request for now. Just so in order to, so that we don't have problems here, right? I don't know how the GitLab, the bot works internally. I assume that it looks for branches with the right name. So I'm just going to delete the branch, right? I'm just going to look for all Renovate branches that we have.
I think it's fine if we have some. Okay, yeah, we can. Oh wait. Oh wait. These aren't tied to merge requests, right? Or
they are. It's the closed one. It's the one that just got closed. But I mean, to be honest, this I just writing a comment here. Closed as we move the script to a new location. Do we have like the link to it? Should be this one, right? Right. And in order to save the planet, it's almost done.
Save it. Every bit counts.
Every bit counts. Stopping the pipeline. Oh wow. Okay, so this project is now forked, ready, and already merged the stuff. So let's see if beepboop is working. Perfect. So we deleted the thing and it's running it afterwards. So I think GitLab is the more important project here. Maybe we run into some shenanigans on GitLab UI, but I don't need to update that synchronously in this call, right?
Okay.
I mean, in the worst case, it means that we need to do one update manually, and after that, it will start working again, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We probably can end this recording and see the result. So either a merge request.
Let me ask you.
We can just hang out.
No, yeah. Let me ask you one more thing while we're here.
Yeah.
So you have a tab open, configuration options for Renovate, yes. And maybe if you can give some background.
Yes. Okay.
So, can I ask you a question to clarify in my head? So you mentioned configuration sharing was one motivation to doing this kind of its own project.
Yeah.
Is it possible for us to just directly use Renovate Bot if there's a way for us to do this configuration sharing, or like what are your?
I assume so. So they have default presets, and these default presets. So there is shareability here, right? That's a feature that has been recently added.
Cool.
So there is like stuff we can do, or we can just create it, right? There are, for example, monorepo presets. Like that's a preset that I basically created for our stuff. It's the grouping of all GitLab projects into one. You can argue whether that's good or bad, but usually, we are updating like GitLab UI and GitLab SVG at the same time. Because the only limitation that I haven't mentioned just yet is basically if you would create multiple MRs, you have the problem that once the first MR is merged, you might run into merge conflicts with the other MRs. So you might be wasting a lot of CPU time, right? So the reason what I've done here is that I've set the concurrency of MRs to 1. So there's always just one MR created. This has the obvious downside that at the moment, let's imagine we have a GitLab UI update that is breaking something, and it's broken for a longer time. It has the downside if we don't fix the GitLab UI thing fast, and there are like source graph updates in the meantime, those won't be automatically created, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
basically, based on how we just configured everything, is source graph going to be in its own MR, or is it?
It's its own MR, yeah.
And is that because we had it in a different
group, basically? Yeah.
Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's huge.
I don't know if it's like, you can see like it generates like the thing here, right? Repositories. You can see GitLab, the repositories. It's like the config, then it runs everything. Token is nice, disabled, right? And
Cool.
this is the reason why I put it in its own config, right? GitLab.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Where do we have the config? Yeah, maybe we can just have a look at the options. Yeah, you can see here, log file maintenance. This is something that they do where they just run like a normal Yarn upgrade, and you can schedule it like happen once a month or something. I decided against that because we don't have a clear standpoint on it. Here's the package manager npm. We could add Ruby as well, right? So we could update Ruby stuff.
Wow.
And PR concurrency, that's what I mentioned, only one one merge request at a time, including paths, because the project actually checks, if like have multi-project repos, it would scan the whole repo for Yarn log files. And this is obviously very expensive with GitLab because we are so deep. So it just, checks the first level of files. I think all these should be comments in here, right?
It's pretty. I think it's fairly self-explanatory. I think this is a pretty good organized file.
But still, comments would help why we set certain settings, right? I mean, here I have the comment, but others I don't, right? Because
There's PR concurrent limit that's set to 1. It looks like that's. So if you go back to the file.
Configuration option, yeah. PR concurrent limit. This is here the limit to a maximum, right? No limit.
Okay, if you go back to the file, this is base config that we apply. Got it, and we apply it to each scope.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
So the whole GitLab scope is 1 PR.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna add a merge request to this to add me as the assignee to.
That's the problem right now, because basically each of those configs is always for one repository, right? And so the problem is that that this config, like who is assigned, is basically at the moment just based on the can just be one per repo. We could duplicate the GitLab repo config here so that it basically runs on the repo twice, but I assume that then this would lead to confusion. My suggestion would be here, I would like to update the upstream stuff, right? So that it allows for multiple assignees. And then I would like to create a group of people that just get assigned to these dependency updates, right? Maybe this could be the new Frontend foundation team they're talking about, or maybe we just add like a bunch of maintainers covering time zones, and the first person who gets this MR, sees this MR, just takes care that it will get merged, right?
I think the multiple assignees is helpful, but I do think still having like specific assignees for specific updates is important. Because for source graph, I have it set up locally, so I want to make sure I test like their latest version is going to actually work, like the integration, and that's not trivial for just anyone.
Okay, gotcha. I think what you're saying is reasonable. I just wanted to say that we have a limitation. and I created an issue about hooks, right? That you basically can have a hook. So maybe in the future, if we have a hook, we could assign you, based on which package is updated. And also one thing that I'd like to take care of that's currently not done is assigning the right milestone at the moment, right?
Okay.
And
so let me ask you what I was going to create an MR to do, and tell me if this isn't going to work. But if you scroll down to wait, where are we? Where is source graph? Oh, he's up there. Update source graph.
Where did the problem is that the assignee is a per repo config and not a per group config, basically, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But as Paul is the person who is assigned, we can in this iteration just tell Paul, if there's a source graph update, please assign the other Paul, right?
Oh my goodness! It sounds like we could create a Paul bot, which based on what MR they're automatically assigned to, we then reassign it to.
To be honest, I think it also could be just a small script if there are no hook support. I mean, hook support would be the best, right? So if we get support that's like, oh yeah, I created this, basically once an MR is created, do an action, right? And then we can just call our API and set the correct assignee or add a milestone. It's pretty trivial. I think we even could build that ourselves, that it runs like every time here, like, oh, check if there's like a renovate branch and a merge request for it, and if it updates that. But would be easier if we had somewhere here to hook in. This thing is pretty full with features already. Or what also could be interesting if theoretically assignees could be a function, right? The problem is that the config of the project is here done here in JavaScript, but normally it's just supposed to be part of the package JSON or like a JSON file, right? So I don't know. I made the suggestion because options for the bot that we could create basically hooks within the bot, right? So yeah,
that's an interesting idea. I really like the idea of maybe us, and I like what you're saying. Like maybe we could make a Docker image around this our specific setup for Renovate Bot.
Yeah,
but then
exactly.
reuse that in the projects would be interesting.
Yeah.
No, this is cool, and I see now the limitation. I wasn't understanding what's going on. I'm going to ping the other Paul to send me source graph.
Yeah, and I mean, I assume that because of our integration, they will probably keep you up to date. I mean, the package is rather fresh, right? So I assume that they would update you anyway if there's something going on.
Okay.
Right? So you probably would see. Okay, we talked long enough. So let's see if there's an MR by GitLab bot. Yep. Opened 4 minutes ago by GitLab bot.
Nice.
So, and
oh no, keep this one to other Paul.
Well, I mean, somebody needs to work, right?
Well, I'm going out of town tomorrow, so.
I think the understanding normally is that if we have a GitLab UI update like this, MVPS should be good enough.
Dependency updates make me nervous. All right.
I mean, I could sign in with the bot account and just merge it.
Oh no!
Yeah. So. Okay.
All right. Cool. Thanks.
So I think this was pretty extensive. We just run a bit over time. Thank you for being here. I think from this we will have a few updates in the future. But as it's now part of the GitLab project, I think it's also easier for folks to contribute, right? So for example, if you were like, hey, dependency updates for this or that, it's easier to just add it, right?
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I really like this, and I think it'd be cool. What would be if we were going to create follow-up issues on this? Should we just create it on the Renovate Bot project? I guess that makes sense.
Maybe that's a good idea. I mean, we have to find an RFC for this, right? So
RFC sounds like a general comment for everybody to control, or like.
Yeah.
I don't
That's good. I would say, because it's a project and it's within the GitLab group, I would say, this RFC is also about updating stuff manually, right? Automatically instead of doing manually, because I did some analysis that found out, that most of these updates have been done, and a lot of them, just had like one pipeline or two pipelines. So it means that somebody just merged it anyway with GitLab UI, because if the pipeline is green, you need to have some confidence, right? Either our testing in GitLab UI, for example, sucks, or our testing on GitLab.com sucks.
Yeah, this is a good point. I think one thing that's tough when you brought up testing is we have a requirement for strong unit testing level on there, and now that a lot of the components have been moved over to GitLab UI, that isn't necessarily captured in our usage of GitLab UI.
Yeah.
And then we don't have any kind of like front-end integration testing bit, which we're really missing. And then for our feature specs, like we only test functionality. And the issues I see come up sometimes with GitLab UI merges are just weird styling like things that just come up. And I don't know how we can actually capture those in a productive way in a spec. And so for me personally, all these dependency updates, I check it out locally. I just take a look at what is changed, and is this good or not. And like,
to be honest, but then you're basically also working around a symptom, right? So the thing is, we need to increase our confidence. And the thing is, if you catch something before it's merged, you actually don't, it's good. It's really good that you're manually checking this. But the problem is, because of that, our tests won't get better, right? If we have like a styling problem that is caused by GitLab UI, which actually is a purpose of GitLab UI that doesn't happen, or if we have breakage because something in GitLab UI broke and wasn't catched, right? You can check everything where GitLab UI is used anyway. So it means that our coverage is just bad. Mm-hmm. And if we don't show these failures, right, because every time someone catches them, we don't improve our processes in GitLab and GitLab UI, right?
Yeah, and I think it would be important to highlight. I'd rather see no bugs in GitLab master for any reason whatsoever.
Yeah,
that's my preference, and I think time to merge is a good indicator for is this, and I really like what you said, like the number of pipelines here. That's a really good indicator for, are these MRs going through smoothly or not. But I know that not everybody's, I know that we do merge some of these things and it does end up causing bugs in master or whatever. So it's that we totally dived into a totally different conversation.
Yeah. I mean, it's on the recording. It will be in 1 hour video. I mean,
GitLab has no bugs. I'm just joking. Cool. Yeah. Well, this is super helpful, and I really appreciate you walking through it and letting me ask some stuff. But I'm gonna hop off now. You have a good evening, IP. And Amar, it's your evening too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, you guys have a good evening. I'm gonna be out of office for a little while, so
enjoy that. I hope it's a joyful occasion.
Thanks. It will be.